Okay, we're starting to talk about the 29th verse to 42 Yoga Sutras. Okay, so Iyengar delineated or segmented these obstacles into some sections. The physical obstacles are disease, right? You guys have all been sick enough that you can't get on the mat. We've all have been, you know? And even simple, not simple, but even things like bad knees and shoulders, those are preventing a portion of the practice, not the whole practice, but a portion. So these obstacles of the body become pretty apparent the older you get. And that's why asana practice is so important. It keeps our body fit for pranayama and meditation. It keeps our mind stable for pranayama and meditation. And it keeps you guys have all, I bet you everybody in this room has had some physical discomfort or problem that is helped or overcome with the asana practice. I don't know anybody that ever comes to my class that hasn't at some point. So we use it for that purpose. The other element of the other physical obstacle is lack of interest. And I looked into it a little bit. And what he's really referring to here is inertia. That's inability to get off your butt and practice, inability to go to class, inability to I have a person that I know, they're always coming up with an excuse. Oh, I would have been to class, but this. Oh, I got this to do. I can't do that. Oh, I haven't practiced in so long. I feel like I can't anymore. There's always a dialogue that prevents them, lack of interest. And this lack of interest is all of these obstacles are tied into the gunas, rajas, tamas, and sattvic gunas. The rajas guna is the guna of lethargy and laziness and inertia. So this person who is lacking in interest or inertia is indulging in the tamasic state of being, tamas. Rajasic state is the overactive. Rajasic state might be someone who is always seeking sense gratification, always seeking the pleasurable moment. That's very rajasic, very active. So the sign that you're overcoming, that we're overcoming these obstacles, is the movement of the consciousness towards a sattvic state of being, that sattvic being illumined, quiet, calm, contented state of being. So all of these are tied in. Okay, then there's mental obstacles, lingering doubt. I have to say that at particular times in my evolution, I have doubted this practice. And I said, all right, what about this spiritual practice? What about that spiritual practice? So that was a time in my life that I was a little bit doubting. What is this and why am I doing it? I mean, it clarified fairly quickly, but I no longer have that doubt about, hey, is this worth my life? Is this worth the only life I got, in this world? And I've come to the conclusion that it is, so I don't longer have that doubt. But that was a mental. The other one is pride or carelessness. I can't tell you how many people I've run in over the decades in the yoga practice that were very proud of themselves and very look at me, you know, pictures all over the place, fancy clothes, the whole roll. It's a sure sign of lack of understanding. It's a sure sign of no depth. But part of our job as yoga practitioners is helping that person see the reality. Don't judge them just because they're into their pride. Show them by example what proper practice is. And eventually they'll lose, hopefully, that prideful state of mind. And it dances within all of us at some point or another. You know, that pride thing, you got to keep it under control. And it's a mental. And idleness, too, is a mental obstacle, coupled in with the tamasic state of mind, that that laziness. Okay, a perfect example of laziness is me picking up the book, reading 5 sutras, and needing to go back and remember what I read or read it again. That means the first time through, I was lazy. I didn't really focus. And that just won't pass muster. You have to garner that discipline of mind to overcome the obstacle of lazy thinking or lackadaisical thinking. And, laziness might be also, I'm reading a text and I don't know the definition of that word, and I'll keep going instead of looking it up. That's just laziness. That's not serious study. So we have to recognize these qualities within ourselves so that we might overcome them and so that we might look deeper. Okay, sense gratification is an easy one. You know, if we're involved with things that bring us just pure joy, pure sense gratification, whether it be what it's so many ways that that can be exhibited. We're overindulging in that. We're not using the sense of discernment and detachment. Our sense of discernment and attachment will say, well, a certain amount of sense gratification is comfortable, but any more than that, it's just self-indulgent. So we have to know where that line is for us. And this is all part of this mental discipline that we have to engage in. And we learn that mental discipline in the practice, in this room or in any room that you practice in, and you develop this mental fortitude of stability. Then living in delusion. You know, how many of us have had fantasies about what a wonderful yoga practice we would have started if we would have started at 12? We'd been so much better. Or if I'd have studied yoga philosophy in college, I'd understand so much more. That's a delusion. We're where we at. We're where we are at. We have to accept where we are at and live in the reality, live in the now, the moment. We can't be sorrowful that we didn't do it better or earlier. We have to see things as they are. Okay. Lack of perseverance. So I did my teacher's training in about 1991 to 1995. And there was about 12 or 13 people in this group. And we were all reasonably seasoned people. To my knowledge, I'm the only one still teaching. I don't think all of the other people have stopped along the way through lack of interest, through perseverance, through, life changes. So I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying even serious practitioners are often slide away and leave the practice through whatever reasons. Um, I always, every week almost, I get somebody in who hasn't been here for a long time. And it's like, oh, Tom, I was thinking about you. I should have come. I wanted to come. Yeah, well, you didn't. You didn't. So it's all right. It's all right if you didn't come, but don't sugarcoat it. You're here, we'll practice. I just don't have the bandwidth for that. Now, there's an interesting word in here that I glossed over the first 5 times I read this book, but now it rings true for me. It's a word called pranava, and Iyengar mentions it in 30, I think 30 or somewhere around that, when he's talking about the word Om. And let's see. And what it means is pranava is another word for another, where am I finding it? Where am I finding it? 27. 27. Okay, thank you, John. 27. Yeah, called pranava. Now, I totally glossed over that, but you know where it's come to back in my education again is Prashant uses it all the time when he describes the universal energy that flows within us, when he describes Om. He does, Prashant, I take a weekly class with him online. He doesn't talk about prana. He says, you Westerners have messed the definition of that word up too much. Use the word pranava, which means this universal energy that moves in and around us, that is in 27. He is identified, he is represented by the sacral syllable Om called pranava, the same idea. So this word pranava, Prashant uses it in the context of the energy that moves through us when we practice. That thing that we have such a hard time defining, and we've defined it so ill, so badly in the past that we need to change. So that was a revelation. See, there's an example too of me. I've read this book probably 7, 8, 10 times, and I just glossed over it. But when I was presented it in a different context, it made sense. It made me understand something. So I would encourage all of us to look at our yoga education from a number of different viewpoints. Don't just be stuck with, Tom's viewpoint or Iyengar's viewpoint. There's a lot of other viewpoints out there.
My translation translates pranava as prayer. Prayers.
Okay, who's that definition? Okay,
I don't have.
that's all right. The point is, Prashant would listen to that and said, that's not a full definition.
Yoga Studies Institute.
A Yoga Studies Institute, okay? Prashant would say, that's not enough. Give me more. Not that I'm asking you to do that, but see, this is where the problem lies. It's, it's in linguistics. We don't have the words to describe what's described in the Sanskrit language in yoga. So we do the best we can with what we got. And, a true.
Your understanding of pranava, would you use it in a sentence that helps me get what exactly that concept is?
Yeah. Okay. When you're doing pranayama, there's something that happens underneath the breath. That something is pranava, that universal feeling of energy. That's a bad word too. Energy it's much more subtle than that. It's a feeling. Pranava is the result of your recognizing the movement of energy within you. That energy would be considered pranava. It's tough to define. I sit up here for hours a day trying to define it, try to describe it. It's hard because it's hard. Just it's hard. People don't get it. I don't get it. So we search for ways. So
is it part of the spirit? Is part
of what was the second?
Like part Purusha?
Purusha would be the entity within it exists. Pranava is, okay, let's just accept that we don't understand prana well. Pranava is our definition of prana. Prana, that life force.
We are familiar.
We are, yeah. So you would equate pranava, but rest assured that it's a half-hearted definition, prana. The fullness of it is pranava.
Which is compared to chi.
Yeah, Chi, yeah, Amy.
It might be worth reading this for people who don't have the book.
Please do.
It's about a full page.
That's all right. We got plenty of time. Yeah, but speak up.
Okay, and I don't have my. Only is considered to be a symbol of divinity. Have they really been? Yeah. Okay, Om is considered to be the symbol of divinity. It is the sacred mantra and is to be repeated constantly. Om is called Pranava, which stands for praise of the divine and fulfillment of divinity. Sound is vibration, which, as modern science tells us, is at the source of all creation. God is beyond vibration, but vibration, being the subtlest form of his creation, is the nearest we can get to him in the physical world. So we take it as his symbol. The impersonal essence and source of all being is known as Haranya Garva, the golden womb. It is also known as Brahman, who is within each heart. So Om is the bow and the self is the arrow. With deep concentration, the aspirant has to hit the target, Brahman, so that the individual self and the universal soul become one. Om is composed of 3 syllables, A, O, M. The word is written thus. Without these 3 sounds, no word can begin, resound, or end in any language. These 3 sounds are universal. They are the seed, bija, of all words. The letters, again, symbolize speech, vak, mind, manas, and breath of life, pran. As leaves are held together by a twig, all speech is held together by Om. Om is the everlasting spirit, a symbol of serenity, divinity, majestic power, omnipotence, and universality. The 3 letters of Om represent the 3 genders, the 3 gunas, the 3 aspects of time, past, present, and future, and the 3 gurus, the mother, the father, and the preceptor. They also represent the triad of divinity, Brahma the creator, Vishnu the sustainer, and Shiva the destroyer of the universe. Om, as a whole, stands for the realization that liberates the human spirit from the confines of body, mind, intellect, and ego. By meditating upon Om, the Sarakra remains steady, pure, and faithful. He becomes a great soul, Mahatma. He finds the presence of the Supreme Spirit within and earns for the peace. Yeah, that's right. Which is free from fear, dissolution, and death.
That was worth reading.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, that really clarified it, to me anyway. Hope.
And syllables of Om. It reminded me that I heard a theologian say that Yahweh, the taking in of the breath. So when a person is born, they breathe in the spirit, their sound is as they suck in the universal spirit. And at the end of life, the final sound is, and so Om is kind of like that with that. And the final breath being.
Exactly. Thank you. Good. And Iyengar describes it better than all of us, you can see. Okay. So I think we've explored the Om and the Pranava pretty well. And then the obstacles. So we can't get to this idea of self-realization until we overcome these obstacles. They're just too much in the way. So in our practices, it will benefit us to look at these obstacles that exhibited for us and to overcome them. Like idleness. If you don't want to get off the couch and do your practice, you can make yourself create a little discipline, get up and do it. That's how to overcome these obstacles. Okay. Then 31, more obstacles. sorrow, despair, unsteadiness of body, tremor of body, irregular breathing. But I've been comparing when I prepare for these things, I look at two books. I look at Iyengar's book, but I also looked at Edwin Bryant's book because he really goes into a lot of depth with this stuff. So, and even between Bryant and Iyengar, the definitions are different. And they're slight. BKS, it's sorrow and grief. Bryant, it's suffering. Yeah. BKS, despair and inertia. And in Bryant, it's dejection. BKS, it's unsteadiness of body or tremor of body. Bryant, it's trembling. And then Bryant talks about the inhalation and the exhalation, and BKS talks about irregular breathing.
Yeah, mine has labor. One of mine, I have two different texts as well. It talks about I lost it. Labored breathing,
Right.
which is very specific.
Well, why? Why?
Well, the others are pretty generalized.
Yeah.
Descriptions.
But when you think of the practices, if you don't have a control of your breathing, you're not going to go inward. I got to tell you this story. About a couple months ago, there was a guy that came to class. He was very interested, very into the practice. He'd done a lot of practices. And I was teaching a lot of pranayama at that time, and I guess I still am. But he came up to me after class and he says, Tom, my ribs don't move when I breathe. Wow. Now, yeah. First of all, does anybody in this room, when they breathe, do your ribs not move? No, it's pretty hard to do that. I mean, if you've got any mobility in the rib cage at all. So that gentleman, I would classify as irregular breathing in the sense that he had limitations in it. This is another reason we do the asana, is to open up these areas of the chest and rib cage so the breath can flow more freely, so pranava can flow more freely. If I'm restricted or constricted, or by injury or genetic makeup or bad habits, I can't inhale or exhale, how am I to access pranayama? How is the fourth limb of yoga going to be integrated into my practice? So that guy, I said, do more chest openers, hang over the block, lay over a bolster, get into a chair, twist, create movement in your ribs. And he's not around anymore, lack of perseverance, but yeah, but hopefully he got some mobility there.
Found that when in pain and moaning is interrupting the breath because it's not taking the deep breath in.
Yeah.
And so that's a disturbance of breath caused by pain.
Yeah.
What's your first sign when you encounter someone who's really shaken, emotionally unstable? I think you pick up on their breathing.
Yeah.
Anytime when someone comes to and they're all
Yeah.
shiverness in their head, whatever sort of mood, lots of different moods, you notice things you pick up on is that
Breath,
of the breath.
short of breath, yeah. So that is why pranayama is so important. My practice wouldn't be anywhere near what it is without the pranayama. Not that, let me just say that differently. The depth of my practice wouldn't be what it is if my pranayama practice wasn't what it was. When we first started the Iyengar practices, everybody, all of the teachers, everybody said, start your pranayama practice now. You won't see benefits for 10 years, but start it now. And I was haphazard about it, but I was pretty good about it. And the more I get into my practice, the more consistent I am and longer duration and more study. And that has really helped me understand all of this physical, all of this the philosophy stuff, but also through my understanding of pranayama and practice of it, I look back on the physical practice differently. I teach differently, and I think from a more internal position than external position to try to get to my students, you know? So the pranayama practice doesn't only transform us, but if we're teachers, it can transform our students and the way we teach and how we teach. And the goal always being is to take that student to a deeper state of experience in the practice, not a fancy posture, but an in-depth experience. And that's what this type of practice can bring to us. And we'll see. Go ahead.
Say that your teaching has, in the 13 years that I have been studying with you, has changed significantly.
Intentionally.
Intentionally to going in, always attention to going inside. And I think you did that in the beginning, in my beginning with you, but it has just grown and grown and grown. So it's the focus of almost everything you do now.
Exactly. And I have to say the changing point for me was COVID, because that's when I started taking classes from Prashant online. And Prashant Iyengar teaches pranayama. On many levels, he's a genius. But he does, for 30 years, I was practicing and teaching pranayama very classically, straight out of light on pranayama, Viloma 1, Viloma 2, Brahmari, this and that. And I got pretty good at it and I could teach it and stuff. But when I started working with Prashant, he's like, throw all that stuff out the door. We're doing this now. And it's so much more in depth, very much touching on this pranava state. So I look at that. I mean, I was always doing it, but at that point, it really changed.
Could you, one more time,
Sure.
make the distinction between pranava and prana again. I mean, you
Okay.
sort of said they were the same, but
Right. They're pretty much the same.
Oh.
But that's only because we have distorted the definition of prana. But the way that we use it, people use it different in different contexts in different ways. But the way we use it, it's pretty much equal to pranava.
so how is it misused? Just as breathing? And not
Yeah, and yeah, people, I've heard teachers say, oh, move your prana up to your head or feel your prana in your feet. Yeah, no understanding. Not lack of understanding, lack of depth of understanding. So,
So just say energy.
yeah,
Oh, but, right.
yeah,
That's
but
the
is,
common
yeah,
way that it's presented, so it is.
but in your definition of it, would that satisfy? Yeah. Yeah. And all of us have a definition of what energy means, right? Plug in a socket, that's energy. No, this stuff is much more subtle, much different. So yeah, it's partial, but not full definition. So that's the problem. Definition, words, linguistics. Okay. So those are all the obstacles and the sorrows and the despair, tremors of body, and the tremors of body are taken care of with asana practice, right? I mean, I'm thinking of one person that comes to class, and when he first started, he was very shaky. He was very, this kind of thing. But over time, he's been able to stabilize. So that to me is a transition from trembling of body to stability. To me, that's a note of advancement in the practice. When you can bring your body from a point of trembling or tremory to stability, it's what I work with Graham Thurgood with. Remember Graham Thurgood, the guy with Parkinson's? He always used to be in the corner, and he has this shaking thing it's common in multiple sclerosis, it's common in Parkinson's. All that you have to do with that is from this, put his hand someplace and push down, and it'll stop the tremory. And that's then, and I said, Graham, does that work? And he said, Tom, it not only stabilizes my hand, but it helps calm my nervous system because it's a stabilization of the nervous system. So this tremoring disturbs the nerves of the body, which we don't really want to.
Do you remember when Nick was talking about how pranayama helped his tinnitus?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was cool too.
Yeah. This kind of stuff.
I missed the last word.
Tinnitus. A student through pranayama. Yeah, it helps your hearing loss too. Yeah. Okay. Now that is closely tied in with what we are going to study in chapter 3, the powers that come from the practice. That's not a power, but that's the practice being used to help our senses interact with the world, which is the same thing that are done. You know, these yogis that are famous for like being staying under the ground for 8 days and being able to hold their breath or levitate and all that. All they're doing is messing around with the elements of nature and their senses. The person that can stay underground for 8 days just breathes once a day. They're so well established in their pranayama practice that they can do that. So those are just, it's a nice benefit. You know, all of these things are nice benefits. You know, I can stand up straight, I don't slouch, I got all these benefits from yoga, but they're just side benefits. The real benefit is that realization of the true self within. That's what we want to do. And all around the spiritual practice and the writings are, don't be satisfied with these small little achievements in the practice. Keep going, keep persevering. There's better results even deeper. So, but it's nice to have some encouragement along the way. Okay. Then we go to 32, 132. Adherence to single-minded effort prevents these impediments. Right? We're back to practice. We're back to, 10 verses ago, practice and detachment. If we practice, and we're not talking about physical asana, we're talking about meditative practice, pranayama practice, that internalization. Yes, it's a little bit of asana too. You got to have that in there. But all of these things are wanting to calm our consciousness to a single pointed position. And how you do it is when you do it, you can slough off, you can move beyond these obstacles and impediments to the practice.
So is this when talked about that chant or that you have?
Patanjali's chant to begin class?
No, the one that you said you have used for many, many years.
Right, my mantra.
Yeah.
Right.
Mantra.
Yeah. What was your question?
So this is where this 32 is, that object is the mantra.
The mantra. And in the text, it says to use the mantra Om, O-A-U-M. And that's a common one. But as we will note, there are many ways to meditate, and that is but one. There, in the classical Indian tradition, one would worship their household god. You know, each family, each lineage or group of people have particular gods that they revere. Shiva, Ganesh, all of them. And that's who you would be inclined to. The mantra that you're specifically referring to, that I repeat, that I use all the time, was given to me in the transcendental meditation practice, God, 30 years, 35 years ago. And it's one, and the only it has no great, I mean, if I were to tell you, it's no big deal. It's just a couple of letters together. The importance of it is how it's embedded itself in my consciousness. If you repeat something over and over enough, thousands and hundreds of thousands of times, it becomes like a well-oiled machine in your head. And when I turn to that mantra, my mind automatically calms down. But since then, I've also adopted other mantras that I use in different places. Like about 15 years ago, I got introduced to and did a good bit of study on the Gayatri mantra. It's a very famous mantra that is repeated to this day. Om Bur Bhuvasva Om Tat Savitur Varenem Bargo Devasya Dimahi Diyo Yono Prachodayat. And this is a common mantra. It's very famous. Millions of people recite it every day. And these mantras are ways to get in touch with that pranava, that Om. And then, of course, another great one is Om. And there's many others, Om Namah Shivaya. There's just all kinds of them. And the point isn't the mantra. The point is your intention, and the repetition of it develops grooves in your consciousness that helps you get into that sattvic state of being, of calm, cool, illumined mind. And the more you do it, the deeper you get those grooves going. So start today, people. Get the grooves going.
So thinking about,
Sure.
that's what, about vibration.
Okay.
Is there is there something to that, the vibration of Om as getting you to a
Oh, yeah.
place?
Oh, yeah.
There is something.
There is a lot. And Prashant teaches it.
Oh, okay.
But I haven't got it to the point where I teach it yet. I need to practice it a good bit of time first. But I can talk to you guys about it. There's something called Svara Kriya, Svara, one word, and Kriya, Kriya, which means the word Kriya has a bunch of definitions in yoga. But for our purposes here, Svara means vow, and Kriya means work. Now, in Sanskrit, there's 10 vowels. A, I, U, A, I, O, Au, Aha. Each of those vowels have different vibratory qualities at various places in the throat complex and mouth complex. And Prashant's practices that he has us do is we repeat those vowels in different forms, different formats, different consonants in front of them to bring about change inside our energy body, our subtle body. Now, what we consist of from a yogic physiological point of view is a number of nadis, or energy channels that move throughout the body. The nadi, you have nadis connected to all your muscles. You have nadis connected to all your veins and arteries. You have nadis that are attached to all of your organs. And when these nadis, or channels of energy, get disturbed or out of alignment, or I'll give you an example. Right now, because of the injury in my knee, my nadis are not moving through here correctly, efficiently, well, and it's caused. So this is swelling, but just imagine if it was energy, it would be swollen, it would be congested. So these valves allow the nadis within us to be cleaned out so the prana can move more freely. We have psychological obstacles, we have emotional obstacles, we have energy obstacles. And these svaras are designed to help us, and along with the chakra system. We're going to talk about, if we have time, we're going to talk about one of the chakras in the heart center. And so these vowels repeated in certain patterns in different ways have a resonating effect on the chakra system and the energy channels that move through the body. So vibrations are very important.
This reminds me so much of the monastic practice of chanting, getting up in the middle of the night and chanting. And I think of it as the vibration, movement of energy, and it is a spiritual practice as well.
What else is happening at that time? The mind is focused. The mind isn't wavering. You're focused. So the vibration quality of sound is all important, but you don't teach it to beginners. It has to be implemented over time with seasoned practitioners. Beginners, they're just lucky if they can straighten their damn leg. You know, we have to move beyond that. So this kind of stuff, it's not like secret, but if I taught it to a group of beginners, it wouldn't have any resonating effect. They're not to the stage where they understand it or get it.
So do you use it?
Every day.
Every day?
Every day.
Do follow
Yeah.
practice?
In my pranayama practice, when I'm down supine, minimum half hour a day, I do ujjayi breathing to get ready. I do these svara kriyas, but I tie together the bija mantras as well. The bija mantras are the mantras associated with the chakra system. Lam is the perineum. Lam, Vam is the Svadhisthana chakra about the belly button. Ram is the heart chakra. Yam is the Visuddhi chakra in the throat. What's that? I can't hear you. Okay. Yeah. And then Yam is the throat chakra, Visuddhi. And Om is the Bija mantra, is the top one, the Bija mantra in the head.
And are you feeling a vibration as you do that?
Not like you would think. Not like you would think. The vibration is more here, between here and here. Yeah. The Brahmari is a good example. I was teaching Brahmari this week. Brahmari, the vibration, that's this striving to loosen things up. So to go back to my practice, I go through all of the kriyas, the svara kriyas, and then I go through the ha, the H to begin with, hu, ha, he, ha, and so forth. Then the V, va, vi, vu, and so forth. Then the ra, and the point is, we've got like 72,000 of these kriyas, these not kriyas, but nadis in us. Each of these various methods and forms of recitation of these vowels are said to clean out certain areas of the body, certain to slough off the baggage that we accumulate as human beings. And then I might do some retentions after inhalation and exhalation. But the last 6 months, that's been the core of my practice. So yeah, I do it all the time. No. Oh, they would be, but they're not like nerves. They would be attached to the nerve. Yeah, you were correct. It's not You can't x-ray them, you can't feel them, you can't see them. They're channels for pranava's distribution.
So how does that relate to chi?
Same.
Oh,
Pranava would be chi. So this tells you this is a universal thought. If the Chinese have figured it out and the Indians figured it out, why are we so far behind? But that's all right. It's another topic. Okay. Okay. Adherence to single-minded effort prevents these impediments. So all of the things that we know that we need to practice are ways to get rid of these impediments. But what is the most basic thing that we can practice that's to get rid of these impediments? The yamas and the niyamas, the basic ethical moral principles of non-harming, truthfulness, non-greediness, appropriate use of energy, non-covetiveness, and then the niyamas, cleanliness, self-study, tapas, hard work, and then surrender to God eventually. So we got to practice the yamas and the niyamas. Okay. Then we're on 34. Right. 34 to 39 are other ways to find a meditative state of mind. Number 34, stability of mind is attained by exhaling and retaining the breath. So this is a very at the passive retention after exhalation. This is pretty important. I teach it relatively often. Breath retention after the exhalation. Does anybody have any ideas of why that particular point in the breathing cycle might be more important for reflection than others?
It's detachment.
Yep.
Yeah, to me.
Well, it is. It is. When you get to that state of non-breath, you're detached. When you get to that state of non-breath, you're emulating death. What we have to refer back to the kleshas now. The previous kleshas we worked with, avidya, asmita, and dara, and the rest. The last of the kleshas is fear of death. If we can practice dying before we die, we lose our fear of it. That's why retention of breath after the exhalation is important. It teaches us to die. Ishvara is okay. And then this idea of Ishvara is the best meditation seed we can have. This focus on God in that form, Ishvara. Okay. Exhalation retention. Mr. Iyengar describes it as a calm lake. When you receive that state of being after your exhalation, it's like a calm lake. I also practice this fairly regularly for the calming quality, the exhalation retention. You exhale and just don't inhale, and it has a profound effect. If the breath is subdued, the mind also becomes so because the two are so intimately connected. That's the beauty of this practice. If we can control the breath, we can control the mind. If we can control the mind, we can control the breath. And the Practice is all about this, controlling the fluctuations of the mind, right? The second sutra. And then after that, the breath is quiet. It relaxes the nervous system. Like you just said about the nerves, Bonnie. The practice by working with the nadis, it helps calm the nervous system. And working with the nadis or the breath and the pranava meditation. And of course, every time we do a pranayama practice, we're tying the minds to the breath. We're interweaving those two elements, and one will follow the other.
Or in a vinyasa-based asana system.
What's that?
Or in a vinyasa-based asana
Okay,
system.
John, you tell me about how the breath is involved with the vinyasa system.
Well, if your physical yoga practice is based more specifically around pattern of the breath, inhales and exhales, and how that matches movements and stillnesses in the body between asanas, like the Ashtanga system that I practice sometimes, then the breath is more easy to have that be ever present and focused, right? So traditionally there's this three-part focus system in Ashtanga, which is the breath and the drishti, the visual focus, and then the kind of body awareness, the full asana focus in some sense. And the breath is just centrally important. It helps you remember the sequence. It has that sort of set order, and it just becomes the main thing going on, even though you're doing physical yoga practice.
What was the middle thing you said, the breath?
Yeah, there's this tradition of a three-part, I forget the word, but it's like triad. There's this word for it, this three-part focus system in this tradition where it's the breath, the drishti, which is your physical gaze point,
Okay.
like in a Parshvottanasana with both legs straight, bending, say, towards your right foot. The drishti would be the right big toe. Where in upward facing dog, maybe your drishti would be straight up. So the drishti is the eyes focus.
The eyes focus that.
Yeah. And then the third is sort of body focus, awareness of the asana physically.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, John, would you say that those three-pronged approach is effective at quieting the consciousness?
Absolutely.
Okay.
As much as anything is for me,
Right,
it is effective.
right. Okay, good. Well, yeah, it just goes to show you that there are a lot of ways to look at this, a lot of ways to work with it, you know.
You were talking so much about this integration of breath and mind. And so in that style of yoga, that's one way to do that.
Yeah.
It's one effective way to do that.
Yeah. Right on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Totally.
Okay.
John, where did those thoughts come from? Is this are you?
Oh, no, it's a tradition in this style of yoga. It's traditionally I guess that those ideas have been taught to me in this tradition.
Yeah.
It's part of the practice. Yeah.
Another yoga.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Okay, 35. Or, right, all of these are you practice and detach, you surrender to God, but if that doesn't work, you can try this, you can try this, or you can try this, or by contemplating an object that helps to maintain steadiness of mind and constant consciousness. Okay, focus on a sense object, but you got to be careful here. Not any sense object will work. You want to choose a sense object that is of a higher vibrational level. I don't want to be meditating on a dumpster out back. It's not a clean thought. It's not something I want to aspire to. Part of this whole practice is we want to meditate on the object we would like to integrate with or become a part of. I'm not interested in becoming a part or integrating with something of a negative sense. I would only want to meditate on things that put my mind or my consciousness into a higher level, like meditating on Brahman or Om or the gods of the pantheon of gods in the Hindu lineage, or any other god that you might think or want to think about. So you got to be a little careful here. If you're going to choose something to meditate, make sure it's something above your spiritual level so that you can aspire for growth on that level. It develops awareness and sensitivity by becoming absorbed in an object of meditation. So you don't want to become absorbed in a negative thought pattern or something bad. You want to be absorbed in good stuff, not bad stuff. So, and the sense object is nothing but a support. Iyengar uses the word lambana, and it means something supporting you, like a prop is a lambana. It helps you, it supports you. This meditating on a sense object or a higher spiritual plane is a support for your mental practice. It's just another way to get to where we're going. Okay, then number 36, or inner stability is gained by contemplating a luminous, sorrowless, effulgent light. Now, it doesn't say anything in there about the heart chakra, but in both of the texts that I've read, both Iyengar's and Bryant's, it's referring back to this as being a meditation on the heart chakra. Okay. So this thing that I was describing earlier about my practices,
Mhm.
it's a way that I know that I need to practice to get into or practice my subtle body work. My subtle body work is that inner work inside the physical form. So the subtle body consists of, we've all heard, I've talked about it a bunch. There's three frameworks of the subtle body that I'm aware of and I practice. The kosha system, the Annamaya Kosha outer body to the Anandamaya Kosha inner body, the Pranamaya Kosha, the Vijnanamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, and Via. This is a framework of the organic body. Another framework of the organic body or subtle body would be the chakra systems, the 6 chakras. Another framework or way of looking at the energy body or subtle body is through the vayus, the apana vayu, prana, the samana vayu, prana vayu, and udana vayu. These are things I talk about in class quite often. And when we get into touch with this inner pranava, we use these subtle body techniques to work with it, to manage it, to free it up, to clear its path, to remove obstacles. So they're all good ways of looking inside of us. And we don't have to create a new framework. These ancients have written about it for centuries. These are documented ways of looking at the subtle body. And our job is to find a way that we can use these techniques, like these techniques in verses 34 to 39, to meditate on the subtle body within. This effort of stilling and silencing the chitta brings forth the sorrowless, effulgent light of the soul. This effort of stilling and silencing the chitta or consciousness brings forth the sorrowless, effulgent light of the soul, which to me means, hey, your heart shines. You're more, you know, how, you know, modern takes on this sort of distorted, but you see it all over the place, right? You know, the stuff like this and the hearts and the tattoos and stuff. I'm not judging, it's true, it's right. But it's this idea that we want to come into contact with this heart center. Now, in a lot of the subtle body practices, we do something called Uddiyana Kriya, which pulling the abdomen in and engaging Mula Bandha to lift the energy of the lower realms up into the heart center. And this whole idea is to open up our heart, our emotion, our compassion, our empathy with the people around us, the people that we see in the world that need help. We are, if you, all you got to do is open your eyes. Every community has people that, and I'm not talking about just the homeless. I'm talking about somebody that comes into class that's depressed. Oh, Tom, I had the most horrible thing. All right, let's forget about it. Let's practice. And that will help lighten that load. That's a, that's Tom's version of compassion. Don't indulge. Let's practice. Get rid of it. So, and at one point about 15 years ago, I was doing a practice and I was doing a teaching about how various postures help you illuminate various chakras in the body. Like this posture right here, Baddha Konasana. It's for the Muladhara chakra. Twists and abdominal work, or for the Svadhisthana. Chest openers and back bends are for the Anahata chakra. All of the shoulder stand variations with Jalandhara Bandha is for the throat chakra. Headstand is for the Agni chakra in the head. All of these postures, whether you think it, know it, or not, are affecting your chakra system and your subtle body.
And which book has all, or many of them, have Iyengars in the back that lists?
Yeah, but he doesn't talk too much about chakras. He talks about most of those things are postures to improve one's physical health. He he was a little careful about with this kind of energy work. He wanted to teach the asana practice, but Prashant is very funny. He said, "You guys just teach the stuff that Iyengar, that BKS know you needed to learn." He didn't practice this stuff. His practice was way different and more along the lines of what we're talking about, this inner work. When Prashad teaches an hour and a half pranayama class, you don't do any asanas. You're on the ground practicing. So it's way different. So, and that has been somewhat of a mirror of my own practice. I still practice asana, yes, but I practice more pranayama by a lot more. And that's way more life changing than asana for me. Maybe not everybody, but me. I've talked the night away. Any questions? I really appreciate your engagement, your involvement, your interest, your intelligence. We're going to finish with a 5-minute meditation. Okay? Starting right now. Okay, there you have it. Thanks for showing up, people. Appreciate it. See you next month.
For you today, we seem to,